First up is Stephanie, and yeah, this is looking good. I just do Control Spacebar, as you can see, to hide the interface. The one big thing I'm noticing is it's sort of inverse, where in this image, this stair thing is on the right, but on this one, it's on the left. So, and then I guess the same for like this door. So it looks like the whole thing, for whatever reason, has been flipped. Not sure why, but yeah, we're trying to make the same. You could probably just group everything and scale it -1. In fact, let's take a look at that. If I take everything, delete the history off of it, edit, delete by type history, group it, edit, group, and then get my channel box back here. Whoops, that's not the channel box. That one. And then scale a -1 in the x direction. And yeah, that flipped everything. So now it matches the image. Yeah, I think yeah, it's nice that you added in these guys. You could probably have I guess you took a cube and then did the smooth preview thing. What I would probably do is subdivide the cube a little bit to keep it somewhat of a cube-like shape first. So yeah, let's add divisions. Actually, that would be under face, add divisions. Um, Maybe just 4 here and 2 and 2, something like that. And why is it doing that? It's weird. Okay, yeah, anyway, something like that. Then smooth it like proper, like mesh, smooth. And then you've got a shape like that. I'm going to go a little bit less on these. Yeah, that's probably better. And then let's try smoothing again, mesh, smooth. Mesh, smooth. Um, and then you could modify the shape from there. Like you could select a vertice and hit B for smooth select, and hold down B and click and drag to, whoops, why is that not working? Hold down B, click and, yeah, I don't know why that sometimes X up on me. I can double click on this. Maybe if I'm in the move tool. Oh, okay, I just have to be in the move tool, so I don't need that open. Anyways, the point is you could kind of modify the shape here, maybe push down some corners or something to give it a little bit more shape, sort of a feeling like gravity's acting on it. Anyways, so that gives a little bit more of a feeling of a real sack than these things. And yeah, you could open the doors if you wanted to, like the image. You could probably get rid of these outside, because these don't have the outside framing on them. For this stuff, if you wanted to get into more detail here, rather than just having blocks, you could have these stacks of boards. But all that said, overall, you've got some good detail and good sense of proportions. So yeah, nice work. Next up is Catalina, and it looks like you're using Maya 2018 for this, because I couldn't open it in Maya 2015. And it's doing this weird interface thing to me too. And I'm going to go to Windows Workspaces, make sure I'm on Maya Classic, and Windows Workspaces, and then reset Maya Classics to factory default, and then everything shows up normal. So yeah, it looks like you had fun with some of the details. That's looking good. Let's compare it side by side. Yeah. So yeah, I guess this, this is just added stuff, so that's cool. I like that you've done the columns, although maybe, um, maybe you went a little bit big on some of these details. They're a little bit more subtle than that, so I might shrink those down a bit. I don't tend to recommend combining stuff unless it's like one seamless surface. So I would keep those separate, and then if you want to organize them, just put them into groups. Yeah, you've got the nice details here. Actually, I think you've gone shorter on this. These look a little taller relative to those. And then this is kind of a steeper angle, and this is kind of wider, so might have gone. And then the kind of the little roof thing here extends back rather than just having that front piece on the front. So, and then I think the pool hall, this got really tall and round, and that's kind of just a little bit more like the top of that. So I might kind of shrink that down so it's just the top there. And then I think adding these doors would be a nice important touch. The kind of saloon doors there, but yeah, I like that. I like the creative details and the additional stuff, and I think a few touches would help clean this up. I can see you went the extra mile in building the individual boards, and that gives it some nice detail as well. Next up is Jasmine, and yeah, this is looking good. Good attention to proportion and detail. I think that some things are still a little bit off. I mean, if I'm kind of looking at the height of this, if I look at this, it's, let's say, if I look at the whole door frame here, it's probably, maybe that's 2 doors high, maybe 3.5 doors high, and we've got, whoops, 2, 3, oh, maybe not so different. Something's up. Maybe, also the height of these is, I think these could come down a bit and then maybe be taller, wider. Um, yeah, that's starting to, I'm just looking at where, this intersection meets the bottom of that window and trying to kind of sort out what's happening there. Um, yeah, these look good. I think I would have gone much thinner on these window panes here. That's kind of thick compared to those. Yours is kind of thick compared to those. So, and then if you can get the curve on top, I think that would be a nice touch to add that in. I think you could add. Looks like you do you have well you do have vertical pieces there. They're just a little hard to see. Yeah, good. Okay. I think that if this could be offset back so where this rooftop is a separate piece and that overhangs this front slightly, that would be better. And what else? Yeah, so this is overall this is looking good. I think this front railing thing came out nice and the steps and all that. So I think some of these little details like that curve thing here and on the windows would bring this to life a little bit more too. But yeah, overall good work. Next up is Santiago, and yeah, really good work on this. A lot of good detail. If we get in here closer, you can see these individual slats on the saloon door, and detail in the flooring, and even the individual shingles on there. Just good, and we've got the individual vertical boards. So yeah, and then same on here. You've got those individual boards. I think this kind of came down a little bit too far compared to that, but it's a small thing. And yeah, you've got the individual again shingles on the roof there. A lot of attention to detail and proportions. I don't think there's I might have gone thinner on the as long as we were doing these boards. When I look at this, they look very thin, so I might have gone thinner on those, but. Even got the staircase on the side here and all this detail on the side building. even these individual things here. And oh, and look at this! Look how nice that is on the door, and this even this metal keyhole and stuff like that, and the handle there. So great detail on this. Yeah, I guess same on these guys too, and this door here with these. That's some really good stuff. And look at even the windowsill, how you got the detail of the shape there. So this is great work. Really, really good attention to detail, proportions. It's got it all. So yeah, really good. Next up is Tess, and yeah, this is looking overall good. You've got the shape, so I can see you even put a bend in these things to kind of give them some variation, which is good. And you've got a door up here. These doors are open. This flap there, although that looks a bit thick. I might have gone a little thinner on that. You might have cut these openings in the side here rather than just the window. I think would be an improvement. And it's good that you worked on this shape, but I think I would have kept going on that. Um, I think to do that you would have had to go. I'm gonna do mesh tools, multi-cut tool, and first just kind of get a good clean. Um, Oops, let me delete that. I can just go all the way across here, hopefully. No? Yes. Um, okay, so I have a kind of a nice cut that goes all the way around there. And then, yeah, and then you could add more, like I'm holding down control to add a line there. That's not working that well because of the nature of the surface. I'll hold shift and just slice through here, in a few places this way. And then now I have some detail to work with if I wanted to, round these out a little bit. Control spacebar gives me my interface back. Let's just turn this guy off. Okay. Anyways, so I can round that out a little bit. I think maybe tone some of this stuff down. I think he went a little too far with it. But you can see I'm getting a little more shape to this now. Something like that. Yeah, and then did this not have a hole cut in it here? I thought it did before. I wonder if me cutting that somehow screwed that up. Don't know. Anyways, yeah, I think, yeah, again, cutting out the side here, making that thinner, this thing, and, shaping this a little bit more, few areas that could improve it. These look maybe a little thick. I guess they're pretty thick on that artwork anyways, so no, I guess that's fine. Might have gone a little thinner on this. Next up is Jackie, and yeah, this came out pretty well. Some good attention to detail and proportions going on here. I think there's a lot going on with this door with the various panels and such, and even having that going out at an angle. Not sure what happened to this surface. Well, we've got this extra face here, so that could be cleaned up a little bit. I don't know what happened. Oh, okay, so deleting that seems to help a little bit, although then I might have lost some. Yeah, I kind of lose that. Yeah, it's constructed a little oddly with these diagonal lines, so guess what? Let me just kind of show you how I might have gone about this a little bit differently, because I think it's the booleans that are sort of screwing it up and getting you that result. So let me just start with a cube, and gonna snap the pivot point to the corner, D and V, and then I'll middle mouse just to get that to the corner there. And then I'm gonna snap this to the corner of this, V, middle mouse drag, and then let's get a division right down the middle of the width. Whoops, division width, just to split that down the middle. And then I'm gonna scale this up like so, and scale that up to the top there. And then I might scale this so it's, goes back to the thickness of the house about, and then I'll take these two side ones off on the back of that and scale those out sideways so we get this shape. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete your original one I was using as a template, and then we can get rid of these individual panes here and that stuff. That's my surface, I think, right? Whoops. Just trying to get rid of everything else there. Oh yeah, so I would get rid of all of those. And let's look at the reference again. Okay, so now we have these various things. Oh, I guess it's a little bit, I would also say it's kind of wider in the middle and then narrower on those sides. So I might take these guys and spread them out a bit more to be more like this image. And then, so I'm going to split it here first. So I'll do mesh tools, multi-cut tool, and if I hold down the control key, it'll give me a split there. Probably that's pretty close to the middle, huh? And then yeah, there appears to be kind of a thick split here. So let's do this bottom window first. I'll grab these two, shift right mouse click, extrude face, and click on that scale thing and then scale that in a bit. And one thing that will be smart actually is I'm just undoing that. When I select these, if I do I guess I don't need this. Hold on, let's isolate this surface just so we're looking at just that one. Yeah, I mean, it's really just the back, this outside thing. So just I'm gonna select these faces that aren't that front edge and then delete those. So I just have that front piece. And then I'm going to select all these faces, shift right mouse, extrude, and switch to world here, and then just push that back a little bit. So then I have some thickness there. Probably need to reverse the normals now. Normals, reverse, okay. And let's turn off isolate select, see how we're doing. Okay. And I think when I do this, I'm gonna select straight through. I think I actually, maybe I'll skip. I'm just going to undo that. I'm just going to leave this thin like that. That'll make things simpler. Okay. So yeah, I've just got this thin piece here now. So let's do this, back to doing this bottom window. Whoops. Shift right mouse click, extrude face, and click here and scale that in. Maybe a little bit more from the side. And then extrude again, shift right mouse click, extrude face, push that back. And I've got that bottom pane. And now let's do these two, shift right mouse click, extrude face, and I want those two to be separate. So in my inputs here, I can scroll down and say keep faces together, turn that off. And then when I scale these down, see how it does those two separately? And, keep that side thing about the same thickness. But I'm going to take these vertices and move those towards each other by scaling those in to keep that middle one separate, real thin there. And let's grab these faces and shift right mouse click extrude face, push those back like so. Okay. And then I might have pushed it in too far, but so for here we can probably do all four of these at the same time. Let's do extrude face and let's get that outside edge thing first. And then let's extrude face again, but this time turn keep faces together off. And then we can do these all separately. And then one more time and push them in. So yeah, now I've got a nice clean surface that hopefully does all the things we want it to do. And then you could I'm going to right mouse click here, two panes side by side. This is your glass, so I'll select the faces of the glass panes and right mouse click, assign material to selected, and there we go. I think maybe the whole thing could pull forward a little. Whoops, don't want that. A little bit. And then in this case I would need to kind of recreate that piece because I think maybe I could take the top of this. Select that one, shift double click this one to select those three. See what happens if we do extrude edge. Change this to world by clicking on that and move that up and maybe scale it in. Does that work? Move it back up. Yeah, pretty good. I think that's about the right idea there. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Just double check it against the artwork. Yeah, just you might want to then grab these and just to give that some thickness there, like shift right mouse click extrude face, and then just push these out a little bit so that's kind of extending out from there some. And probably do a similar thing on the bottom and so on and so forth. Anyways, I just thought that could be helpful to you guys. I think I might have accidentally deleted part of your building. But yeah, anyways, long story short, yeah, good work, good proportions, and some nice detail. Next up is Morgan, and I had some errors doing this in my 2015, so I opened up in 2018. And one thing you mentioned was the window pane. So you can, select these faces, and for example, here I can take. Let's just do all these first. I'm going to do right mouse click, two panes side by side, and I've got the hypershade in here, and it looks like, is that what you're using as your glass? Let's just say it is, and assign material. And so now you can see that you have the the glass in there. So that was a question you had posted, as since they're not separate objects, but you can assign materials by the face or faces besides just the whole object, and that will solve that. Yeah, so I think this is looking good overall. Yeah, a lot of attention to proportions and detail. Um, might have gone a little smaller on these windows, but yeah, for the most part, those are good. It's good that you made this barrel. Again, maybe gone a little bit smaller on that. It looks kind of small in this image here. Um, and yeah, I mean, it could have been an opportunity to sort of put some damage in or imperfections, maybe add some of these supports coming off the edge there, just because it's a sort of a relatively simple shaped building, so some of those smaller details might help bring it to life. But yeah, I mean, I think that you've paid close attention to proportions and you've got most of the detail in there, so that looks good. Next up is Shanisa, and yeah, this looks really good. I think good close attention to detail. I think I really like that you've added in curtains, which is a nice touch here, and like that you got these sort of kind of more oval shape on the doors. Although maybe those could have been a little narrower. The door looks a little wide to me compared to this. So it could be, in fact, that the whole building is a little bit wide overall. Um, it's nice that you've got these, the board. You did individual boards here, and you've got the boards supporting underneath. That looks good. I might have gone ahead and added a little door handle, which is, maybe you can't really see it, but it makes sense that it would have a door handle. To me, the building looks a little bit short in this direction when I compare it with the image. Um, and then these things, compared to the overall height of the building, these look a little tall and big on yours. Might have gone a little smaller with those relative to the height of the building. But really, these are small things, and overall, this is a really nice piece with some, again, with the curtains are kind of take it to the next level. So, very good work. Next up is Jonathan, and there's some good detail. Looks like you got some progress on the windows here and the window panes. Might have gone a little bit thinner, in particular with these guys. They look like they, could be much more narrow like that. And yeah, it's good that you got this angle going. I think, as far as these supports, I might have done this differently. It looks, because it looks like you have sort of separate pieces here and kind of in a sort of a cross shape, whereas this just looks like a big elongated cube, but just with some additional details at the varying heights. I think that what's missing is some of the door detail and the cutouts in the door. You could have got a piece across here. Overall, I would say this looks significantly wider than this, relative to the height. So I think you went too wide for the building overall. And yeah, it's really calling out with some of the basic door detail as well. So again, you got a lot of the good basics. I think you could have gone a little further with the detail and also get some colors on there. Would have been nice. Okay, next up is Kathleen. So yeah, you've got some decent proportions going on, and I can see you were going, trying to go the extra mile by adding these panels. Although I would make sure I got, all the basics working right before adding that kind of detail. The staircase is looking good, and some of the detail on the side here. Got these columns. I think it'd be nice to add some of the detail there. I like that you have this whole thing, although maybe that could be a bit shorter. You've got the sign on top and this top edge. Maybe that could be a little thinner, as well. But yeah, good basic proportions. Again, try to get the fundamental details in there before adding all these panels and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say keep going and keep working on it. Next up is Rand, and yeah, this is looking pretty good overall. Good proportions and detail. I would say the building looks a little narrow in this direction, both on top and bottom. And if you're getting these, these vertices showing, it looks like you added some unevenness in the top, which is good. You can get rid of those by doing display polygon vertices. And Rand had a question about assigning the colors. So yeah, let's just make a couple colors. So I'm going to just right mouse click here and do two panes side by side, and I'll put the hypershade in here. You can hold down spacebar for the hotbox, click in the southern area, and go to hypershade to make that show up. And then, yeah, then make a new material. So it looks like you have made a few materials, but I'll just make another one, Lambert, and maybe I'll just call this wood, and double click on that, and then click on color, and get a sort of a brown, color there, something like that. Let's say you're happy with that, and then select everything you want to be that color. Let's just select all these for the moment. Right mouse click, assign material to selection, and then there's your color. So, go through and make all the different colors you want, assign them to the various objects. I mean, the other way to do it is to take this middle mouse, drag it onto a surface, and that should work as well. If you're having weird stuff like this, it probably means that there's duplicates on top of each other. So, in that case, that's what's going on there. So I would just delete the duplicate, and then that problem will go away. So yeah, that's the thing with color. Yeah, as far as the model, I think you did a good job, except for maybe the proportions on the side there. But most of the detail looks good. Let's just assign that so it's even. And yeah, you've got these columns, the sign on top, all that good stuff. So yeah, nice work on the model overall. Next up is Michael, and yeah, this is looking really good. Got some nice detail on the roof. You've got this paneling stuff here, some additional detail on the columns, and yeah, the doors and window panes. And you guys see he's even built this interior with this sort of wagon wheel chandelier thing, which is cool, and this cage. Sorry, I might go there. And one trick if you're trying to see an interior is if you view, select camera, and then adjust the focal length and reduce it. You can kind of have a real wide angle lens to be able to see an interior better without looking to the wall. So yeah, that's great. I mean, that's definitely above and beyond, because in these lanterns hanging from this wagon wheel, hanging from chains, a carefully built a chain. So, and even this interior support beams. So yeah, this is some cool stuff. Definitely really great job here, above and beyond. By doing that interior stuff. I think let's get this back to the default of 35, so that looks more normal. I think that proportional wise, I would say the building should be wider. I think you mentioned that in the thing. If you grab everything, all the surfaces here, and just make sure we delete history, edit, delete by type, history, and group everything, edit, group. You can try scaling the whole thing out. It might mess, certain things then it might look a little stretched horizontally, so it is possible to adjust it, but then I don't know, things might seem out of proportion in other ways if you do that. You kind of got to go back and check. But so it is possible to kind of adjust the proportions of everything together. But now, yeah, like the door looks too wide now, for example, so that it's not necessarily a cure-all. But yeah, really good work, really good detail, and I'm loving the interior stuff.